Brother and lads, welcome back to Kossi's Arsenal podcast. My name is Kossi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. We are back again, and we're going to be discussing that 180 million that was reported, the budget that Arsenal have to spend in the summer. And the big question for me around it, lads, is how do we spend it? Because look, it's coming in around 4 months. It's coming in around 5 months. That is February, March, April, May, and June. So it's around 5 months. But I think for me, the biggest question and why I've done this video is how do we spend 185 million? Of course, we do have a lot of things that we have to work on as a club, as a squad. There's so many things Arsenal do have to put into consideration as we try to spend that money. But how interesting would it be for Arsenal to go out there to try to find players for 185 million, knowing that we have already done the structure, knowing that it's not about the structure now, it's about bringing in players, quality players. And that's why, in this video, I'm going to be analyzing some of the top targets that we are looking at as reported by The Athletic, and then trying to zero down to those that I feel are the most quality. Those players that I think, will be giving us the quality that takes us to the next level. I think it won't make any sense for us now if we went out there and started buying players that are similar to the ones we have. For example, I don't think we go out and buy a striker who is a prospect. I feel like we should be going out to buy strikers, or a striker who is really proven, a striker that is, already, made. It is now time for us to go for already made players. And that is what, that is the focus of my video. Among all those roles, among all those players that we are linked with, which ones can give us the best quality in the market? Because for me, I'm looking at us next season as a club that should be challenging for any silverware, be it the Europa League, be it the FA Cup or the Carling Cup, Carabao Cup. We should be challenging for some silverware next season. And also, most importantly, we should be, and this is a big point, we should be challenging for the top four with high hopes of winning that position. Because, look, this season, maybe there's so many excuses. You need to drive out the deadwood. You need to do these things. You need the players to learn the ways of the manager. But it's different from next season. It's going to be very different. First and foremost, Mikel Arteta will be 3 years in charge. So 3 years, in charge. We start asking for serious silverware. 3 years in charge, we start asking for, to see what exactly this project is all about. So I put together a list of so many players that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be, going through, and I've segmented this through, in two parts. One, the strikers. Two, the midfielders, and then the right backs that we are looking at. And I think for right back, it will be very interesting to see: do we go for a backup right back, or do we go for a right back that actually replaces Tomiyasu or is better than Tomiyasu? Well, if you've seen my video ranking all Arsenal signings under Mikel Arteta, what I've done is I've placed Tomiyasu in that category of just okay signings. He's not super, he's not a super signing, and he's not an average signing, but he's there in just okay. You don't believe he's gonna become a super signing, and again, you don't feel like he's an average signing. So if he's not a super signing, does that give us room? Does that give Arsenal more space, more room to actually bring in a new right back? We'll dive into that very, very soon. Right, so before we get any further, this is the theme of the video. Arsenal were given that 185 million budget, according to reports, and we might actually have lots of money. Actually, we might actually spend more money than we spent in the summer. Interesting. Very, very interesting, because that is unlike of Arsenal. and that is unlike Ovston Kroenke. But of course, reports from the Athletic and the Guardian have already come out and confirmed that Arsenal will spend money regardless of Kroenke's investments. They will spend money, and also the Athletic have come out and said Kroenke is ready to back Mikel Arteta and show his faith by backing him in the summer with 185 million. Right. So let's get to it, lads. Let's get to it. Let's start off with the strikers, because there's a big void. There's a huge void around the striker role. Lacazette, the latest information we have, he could be leaving the club. He could be going back to Lyon. Atletico Madrid are interested. Juve are interested as well. So with Alexander Lacazette, you never know what's going to happen. He might stay, he might go. But my understanding is that he will eventually leave Arsenal Football Club. That is what I do understand with Alexander Lacazette. Nketiah, you can't use him as a striker, honestly. If you're looking at going to the next level, then Nketiah is not the striker we should be thinking about, or to use as a main striker. So striker targets, I have three. I put together three striker targets. In number one, you have Jonathan David, who we will discuss him in this video. In number two, I've gone with DCL, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. In number three, I've gone with Alexander Isak. Now, put in mind, or you will have in mind, that there's so many other players that are linked with Arsenal that will not be on this list, and there are so many new targets that will actually come onto the Arsenal agenda that have not been on our list or have not been reported as yet. But the reason as to why I've gone for this list is because when you look at our moves in January, they were only blocked by two things. One, because clubs didn't want to weaken themselves mid-season, and two, some players actually wanted to stay with their club. So I think, honestly, more of these targets, we will see them again in the summer. We'll see lots of transfer rumors. We see lots of transfer reports around them in the summer. Right. So the strikers, I've gone with three of them. And I would love, if you would be kind enough to smash a like on the video and comment with that one striker out of these three do you think is has the better quality. That is what I would love from you today. Right. So let's start off with Jonathan David. So Jonathan David, currently playing in France, is having the season. He's having a season of his life. He's really playing very well. Now, according to reports, Arsenal do have him as a long-term target. They've been following him even before signing for Lille Metropole. They've been actually following him as a player. Now, last season didn't really have a huge season, but this season, you could say he's having the season of his life. Has already recorded double figures in terms of goals scored in the in the Serie, in the French League One. And his agent, to be precise, his agent has actually come out and said, this is the last season my player will be playing in France. Of course, there's so many other clubs, according to the agent, that are interested, but Arsenal is one of those. Actually, Arsenal is the only club that I know interested in Jonathan David. According to the agent, he also loves Spain, and a couple of clubs in Spain are interested in signing in him, in signing in Jonathan David. But I doubt he would turn down. I doubt he would turn down a move to the Premier League. I doubt he would, he would turn down a move to Arsenal, despite the fact that Arsenal will not be playing in the Champions League. I mean, you never know, but in my instincts, I don't think we will be playing in the Champions League anytime very soon. So I think if other clubs that do have Champions League do not come for him, then he's one of those players that I think are highly likely, if Arsenal went in for them, they would easily agree to the deal. Jonathan David, number one. Of course, in terms of his quality as a striker, he's one of those, you would think about as a fox in the box, not really one that is going to be very good at hold-up play like the likes of Lacazette. His strength is in numbers, right? And there's a very, very huge debate there between Arsenal fans and other football experts whether Arsenal need a fox in the box or we need someone like Alexander Lacazette, very good at hold-up play, but his numbers are actually not that good. So Jonathan David, lads, would cost us around 50 million or less. I think, to be precise, in the summer, we could even get him for around 40 million to 50. That is the price. Of course, in January, Lille Metripo came out and said if anyone wants Jonathan David, they'll have to pay they'll have to pay 55 million euros. That is really, really a lot of money. But he's a young player, 21 years of age. When you think about him, his resale value is also there. So that means if Arsenal buy him for 40 and it doesn't work out, we could still sell him for 40, 35, or 37, around there. So Jonathan David, interesting. He's playing in the French League One. Among the three strikers, I wouldn't really say he is most exciting because you have Calvin Lewin there, and you also have Alexander Isak. Honestly, in terms of being the biggest prospect among the three, he is none. But what I would think about Jonathan David is the kind of low-profile player that has the ability to become world-class. And remember, look, this is a little bit contradictory because I said what Arsenal need is a goal-scoring machine that is proven. So Jonathan David may be not one that I would go for. Yeah, let's go for Jonathan David, but still think about him. I would definitely think about him. In number 2 is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and with Calvert-Lewin played in the Premier League, I think there's so many advantages as to why Arsenal want him and why Arsenal fans would actually feel that he is the striker. However, Everton have now gotten a new manager, and they're trying to. I think they'll be looking at rebuilding their team, their squad, and everything. And with Frank Lampard now there, I don't think Lewin is going to be in a rush to leave. And also, I don't think they will get relegated, because if they get relegated as Everton, which I think is very, very slim now, I mean, that just gives another kind of dimension to the whole saga. It just gives us another kind of dimension to this whole story. Lewin cannot play in the Championship. So if they get relegated, Arsenal sincerely and simply go for him, and we get him. But with Frank Lampard now, at Everton, I think he'll be looking to build a team around the likes of Dele Alli, Calvert-Lewin, Demarai Gray, Townsend, and Doucouré and Pickford. So I doubt Everton will be in that position where they're like, we will let him go. We will sell, because we know they can sell. They've already sold. When need arises, they sell. So can Arsenal actually meet the asking price of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and how much should we spend on a striker? Because for Lewin, Calvert-Lewin is not less than 50, and I think that's it. It's not less than 50. For the other targets that we are looking at, especially Jonathan David, you could negotiate it to 35. You could negotiate it to 40. So how much of the 185 mil should Arsenal spend on a striker? In my opinion, we should get 2 strikers in the summer. 2 strikers. One that should cost us around 50, and then the other should cost us around 25 million. So around 80 million should be spent on a striker. Very, very seriously. Actually, I would be okay if Arsenal spent 100 million in the summer on 2 strikers, on 2 forwards. I'll be absolutely okay with that. So Calvert-Lewin, more advantages than Jonathan David. Played in the Premier League. He's got that kind of build as a complete striker, and of course he's proven. I think he's proven. He's played on at that high level in a very, very difficult league. So he's proven as compared to Jonathan David. So would we go for Calvert-Lewin, despite the fact that he would cost more than Jonathan David? And number 3. We have in number 3 we have the man that has been linked with Arsenal throughout January, Alexander Isak. Now, Isak has got that kind of partnership with Martin Odegaard, and I think it's one thing that Mikel Arteta will be looking at and will be going, yeah, maybe I would love to see this kind of reunion, at Arsenal. So Alexander Isak, unlike the others, is not a fox in the box, because if you look at Lewin, is a fox in the box. If you look at Jonathan David, he's a fox in the box. Alexander Isak is not that. Isak is is more of a hold-up player. Isak is more of a very unselfish striker. Of course, when it comes to a striker, you've got to be very, very selfish, because it works. It really helps. As a striker, it really helps when you're that selfish. To get in the goals. You need to be. You need to think about how you score first before thinking about how you help others score. And I think with the likes of Lacazette and Isak, their primary role is, how do I help others? How do I play with others? Not how do I help myself to score? So Isak has a release clause of 90 million euros. And Real Sociedad were very, very clear that they will not negotiate in January, and that's why that deal actually didn't come through. But in the summer, I think Real Sociedad will be very, very soft, and they'll be like, okay, anyone wants Alexander Isak, then we can think about the idea of negotiation. So I think his price can be negotiated from 70 million pounds to around 55 million pounds. But if you look at these three strikers, all of them, their price is between 50 or 45 and then 55 million pounds. So among the three, who would we go for? Let me know in the comments below. But look, how do we spend our money? Two strikers. And I think on these three, out of these three, we go for one. I will definitely go for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The reason that's why I've gone for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I would have put Ollie Watkins on this list. But when I look at the project that Aston Villa are building, I don't expect them to release another player very soon, because you think the reason that's why they let go of Jack Grealish is because you feel like he had arrived faster than the project at Villa. Because I think their project will take next season and then another season to see the real fruits of the real ambitions of the club. And Jack Grealish, at this point in time, he had already reached that level where he was ready to go bang, or he had already gone bang. And I think, but at the moment now, they can't lose Ollie Watkins, because especially to Arsenal, because the project they're building at Villa is quite identical, very similar to the project Arsenal are building. Look at the age bracket, look at the manager they have employed, look at the quality they are bringing in. It's very similar. So Watkins, for me, out of the picture. So out of these three strikers, then, lads, we need to choose one. Jonathan David, smashing it in the French League already this season. Dominic Calvert-Lewin this season suffered with suffering from injuries, but of course we know that he's at that level. He's reached that level of asking for a new challenge. And Alexander Isak is still a prospect. This season not doing very well in terms of numbers, but last season managed 17 goals. So if we are to decide, for me, lads, I'll definitely go for 55 million for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think it's one that Everton will actually struggle to turn down. They will struggle to turn down 55 million for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, despite the fact that they do have that kind of project moving on and going around. They will eventually give in. They'll be like, okay, money has come in, money is on the table. Let's grab it with both hands. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think, should be the striker Arsenal targets in the summer, and we should bring in that one. So that means out of the 185, we've spent 55. So we are remaining with that 130 million. So the 30 million for me, lads, is to bring in a backup striker. And I don't mean a backup striker who is so below the striker we bring in. I think for Arsenal, where we are now is after losing Aubameyang and Lacazette, you don't just sit back, you have to replace them. So the 30 mil, as a hypocrite, with absolute hypocrisy, I would go for Patrick Schick. Now, I'm looking at Patrick Schick as a striker that that can sit on the bench at Arsenal. Can be used in the Europa League, where I think we might go back. I pray we go back. Fingers crossed. So fingers crossed. If we go back to the Europa League, then Patrick Schick would be our lead striker in the Europa League, especially group stages. Round of round of what? Round of 32, then round of 16. It's horrible down there. I just hate it. Right? So many games and crap teams. Crap teams playing crap teams. So two strikers that I think Arsenal should target: 55 million, grab Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and then 30 mil, grab Patrick Schick. I'm not the biggest fan of Patrick Schick. I don't feel he's capable of leading that line. But with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, we don't have that guarantee that it's going to be fit all season. He's not one of those players that the likes of Aubameyang that can be fit 35 games in a season, 35 times, 35 games in a campaign. He's not that. So can Patrick Schick then give us what Dominic Lewin gives us if both of them were to be the strikers we go for? In my opinion, yes. Yeah. In my opinion, I would definitely say yes. I think Patrick Schick is capable of coming off the bench and giving you 10 goals in a campaign. And then if he starts, he's capable of scoring those deciders, capable of scoring those those decisive goals in those decisive moments. So Patrick Schick and Calvert-Lewin, it wouldn't really be a very, very bad window for me in terms of going forward. But of course, let me know other strikers that you think Arsenal should go for. So we've already spent 85 mil on our striking partnership on Patrick Schick and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But then in the midfield, lads, if we talk about players that, if we talk about areas where we are short, areas where Arsenal is short in numbers, the midfield is there. We are lucky we have Partey in there, but I think it's more than that. You need a player who can give you what Partey gives you when Partey is away. And also need a player who can give you what Partey doesn't give you, next to Thomas Partey, right? So it's going to be one that is, we talk about a player that plays next to Partey, but then a player who also sits on the bench. So for midfield, I also think Arsenal need two very good, and I'll stress this, two very, very good very, very good midfielders. Number one, lads, is Boubacar Kamara. Now, if you've had me report on 99 Sport, this is not the first time I've spoken about this name, and he's been linked with Manchester United very, very strongly. There've been very, very strong links between Boubacar Kamara and Manchester United. Look, Kamara's contract, I think, runs down in the summer. I'm not really mistaken about that, am I? I'm not mistaken. Kamara's contract runs down in the summer. Manchester United have been trying to get him in January, but they failed. Actually, Olympique Marseille offered Boubacar Kamara to a couple of clubs, including United, because I think they were afraid of losing him on a free. Kamara, when I think about Boubacar Kamara, I'm tempted. And there is a crazy name I put on this list, really. There is a crazy name, and I'll tell you why I put him there. But with Kamara, I think it's that kind of version of Aurelien Tchouameni that we can get. Because that kind of version of Eduardo Camavinga that we can get. Camavinga, wild, doesn't want to play for Arsenal, wants to go to Real Madrid, fine. Chouameni, when I look at Aurelien Chouameni, very, very interesting player, by the way. But when you look at him and his level of ambition now, the clubs that are looking at him, United, Chelsea, Madrid, Bayern, it's hard to say that Arsenal will pay around 70 mil to get Aurelien Chouameni. But then we need a player like Aurelien Chouameni. We need a player like him. We need a player like Eduardo Camavinga. Very hard, very, very hard, but also flexible in terms of progressing the ball. I think he would really work for Manchester United better, honestly. But because he's available for a bargain, I think Arsenal need, to take advantage of such. I think it's one that would come in at Arsenal, provide us with that kind of squad depth. But also, if we get Europa League, FA Cup is coming back next season. I mean, we should stop getting knocked out of the of the FA Cup on the first in the first game. Southampton knocked us out. In the previous round. And then in the recent one, it was Nottingham Forest. We need to stop that crap. It's disgusting. It's really, really disgusting. I'm tired of it. So Kamara, for me, lads, would be one that I wouldn't really consider to come in and take over the midfield, because he's not the one I've prepared. I have someone very different in my mind. But honestly, Kamara comes in and he gives us kind of squad depth. I think the beauty with him, he can play for you next to Partey in that central midfield role, and also can play in that role of Thomas Partey very, very well. He can comfortably play anywhere in the pivot. But I'll be looking at Kamara as a player who predominantly plays for us in Europe, especially if we go back to the Europa League. So Boubacar Kamara there, and I'm looking at him as, honestly, lads, I'm looking at Kamara as a free, right? I'm looking at Kamara as a free. It's one that we should be doing. It's one we should be doing. Boubacar Kamara, a free, high quality talent. High quality talent. So Arsenal should think about that. Yes, we've missed out on Zakaria, but this one is one we can't miss out. In the other midfield options, still moving on, is Yuri Tillemans. We've been linked with Yuri before, and I know many Arsenal fans do understand now that our interest in Yuri Tillemans is not that small. It is actually huge, right? It is actually huge. So, according to the reports we looked at, Arsenal have held talks with the agent of Yuri Tillemans. So we've held talks with the agent of Yuri Tillemans, and it's still one that is very difficult because Tillemans is going to be left with 1 year in the summer, and you've got to ask yourself whether there's going to be any kind of competition, and the answer is yes. There will be lots and lots of competition on Yuri Tillemans, but I think he's what Arsenal need, honestly. He is what Arsenal need. Whenever I think about Yuri Tillemans, I just look at him as that kind of puzzle, that kind of missing piece in the puzzle. We don't have a player who gives you what Tillemans gives you. Very comfortable on the ball, has more shot creating actions per 90, and I think the most interesting part about Yuri Tillemans that I would want him, I would want to see at Arsenal, his ability to score the spectaculars from the midfield. Honestly, I miss them. Because look, if you look at Kevin De Bruyne and how many games he's won for Manchester City with those spectaculars, and Tillemans needs no introduction to the spectaculars. So definitely Tillemans, but one that will be very, very difficult, I think, because his contract is running down. Leicester City will want to sell, and Brendan Rodgers has already said they will be allowing the player to move on to his next step in his career. Can he come to Arsenal? Big question. But I think it's going to be a sea. It's going to be a pool of competition, right? A pool of competitors. If Liverpool, who I will look at as our very, very close competitors in this one, get Fabio Cavallo, which I pray they do, then Liverpool may be out of this race. Then United, if they lose Pogba, they'll be interested in the services of Tielemans as well. Yeah, I think those two clubs in the UK in the Premier League. Elsewhere, I won't be surprised if a certain Bayern, if a certain Real Madrid also say that we are interested in taking in Yuri Tielemans, at the Santiago Bernabeu. So how much? Around, I think, 45 mil, because his contract is running down, and it would really depend on the competition. The amount of competition on Yuri Tielemans would actually determine how much we pay or how much anyone will have to pay. But I think 45 mil would be the price, 45 to 50. But I'll gladly pay 50 million for Yuri Tielemans. So option one of the players that I think Arsenal should look, if our interest is absolutely genuine, then we should fight for the signature of Yuri Tielemans, 50 mil, no question about that. Now, the other targets that are also available is Douglas Luiz. Now, Luiz has been linked with Arsenal strongly in January. Aston Villa, I believed, they will listen to offers coming in for the Brazilian in the summer. In January, it was very, very difficult for me to believe that that they would sell, because honestly, he's one of their best players. There is no question about that. He's one of their best players in that midfield. I'm not so comfortable with the idea of Douglas Luiz, but I think with Mikel Arteta, he loves players like that, and that's the reason that's why he's kept Granit Xhaka. I think he doesn't want midfielders that have some certain kind of liability, especially defensive wise. He wants players that are really cautious in his midfield. He wants players that are very reliable in terms of keeping the ball, distributing it, and also helping out on defensive duties. That is why Ruben Neves and Douglas Luiz will be highly appreciated on top of our list for a new central midfielder. Douglas Luiz is a good player, honestly. There's no question there. Very, very good midfielder. Very young, 23, so he fits into the project of what we want to do. And I would say really that if we can't get Kamara and Tielemans, then if Douglas Luiz is available, no question there. Let's go for him. And also sign in someone, a little bit, better. I would wish to see someone a little bit better than him. And saying someone better, can you look at these lads? That is the name I've gone for, and I'm crazy, right? And I will sound crazy that I've gone for Jude Bellingham. It's highly debatable. It will be really highly debatable if Dortmund are ready to listen to offers. If Dortmund will be like, yeah, we are ready to listen to offers for Jude Bellingham. I think it would be a little bit too early, especially with the Erling Haaland fiasco. They might not want to expose themselves, like lose Erling Haaland and Jude Bellingham at the same time. But that doesn't mean he won't be available. Because we know that what Dortmund want. They want the money. They listen to the money. Yes, they can turn you down, but it doesn't have to try. And in my opinion, honestly, Jude Bellingham would be that player that Arsenal, would be that kind of missing piece that we want. Because if you look at how he operates as a player, again, that kind of central midfielder that plays so high, very, very high. The strongest attributes of his game, shot creating actions, dribbles, assisting, and also if you look at the number of times gets into the penalty area, you're just intrigued. And remember, at Dortmund, he's not playing as a number 10 because you have the likes of Julian Brandt slightly ahead of him, right? So Jude Bellingham in that kind of 8, and Julian Brandt in that kind of 10. So, why I want Jude Bellingham over Douglas Luiz and Ruben Neves, And I'll tell you why I think Ruben Neves would be the will be the player that Arsenal will sign. But for me, I think we need a player who is not afraid. We need to play more brave football than more than conservative football. I think being conservative for Mikel Arteta, it's working out because he has a young squad. You don't need to expose yourself so much so that you can be ripped apart. I think that's the reason as to why he's playing very conservative football. Some kind of very conservative football. But with Jude Bellingham, players that just allow you play progressive football, players that just allow you play open football. Bellingham, for me, one to watch. Honestly, he might not come to Arsenal, maybe Liverpool, maybe Madrid, maybe United, maybe any other team, and his price would be in excess of 80 mil. I'm very convinced about that. In excess of 80 mil. He signed for them last summer, but one. So this is his second complete season, I think, at Borussia Dortmund, and it would be very interesting. Can they sell him after two seasons? Yes, they can. Honestly, yes, they can. But can they sell him after Haaland leaving? Maybe no. But look, Bellingham, lads, is a baller. I'll definitely take him. And out of the 180 mil, if Arsenal decide to spend 80 million on Jude Bellingham, I think I would. I think it would, because he's a signing that takes us to the next level. And for me, that is what I'm looking at. I mean, I'm looking at players that take us to the next level, signings that can take us to the next level, right? Tielemans takes us to the next level. I think Douglas Luiz would leave us slightly at the same level at which we are, but Tielemans and Jude Bellingham definitely put us to that, at that very, very different level. Now, moving on, lads, is Yves Bissouma. Now, Bissouma is always going to appear in our transfer rumors and in our transfer sagas, and I think on the shopping list for a midfielder, we will always have him there. Honestly, we will always have Bissouma on our shopping list for a midfielder. But look, I've said go for two. I don't think Bissouma is that level where he comes in and sits on the bench. I think he's past that. He's already at that level where he can play for Manchester United, play for Liverpool, play for Arsenal, play for City. So you can't bring him in and then sit him on the bench unless we bring him in to play alongside Thomas Partey, and then we switch to a 4-3-3. So you could have Bissouma, Tielemans, Partey, and then up front you'd sacrifice someone, honestly. So it's Martinelli, Saka, and a new striker. So we would, you would sacrifice Odegaard, or you'd have, you had Bissouma, Partey, and then Odegaard in a 4-3-3, and then a 3 up top. Bissouma is one that I think Arsenal will not go for, honestly, but it's one that I would go for if Mikel wanted to play a 4-3-3. I think it would give us the kind of defensive security, but also just allow Thomas Partey to play the way he wants, like free, very, very freely. So Bissouma, want to watch 50 mil? Would I spend 50 mil on Yves Bissouma? If it's around 30, maybe. That 50 mil, like it's been reported, because his value is actually improving better day in, day out. It's becoming better and better and better. Yves Bissouma, would you take him over the other options? Would I? Not really. Yeah, not really. But one that I would actually not keep out. Now, before that, you have this lad, Ruben Neves. And out of all the options, I think he is the one that Mikel Arteta, deserves to have. I think with Ruben Neves, he's not fancy. So he's not a fancy central midfielder. People like me that really want Arsenal to get in a fancy central midfielder, it's not Ruben Neves. He's very, very far away from. He's very, very far away from that. He's not fancy. He's not going to give you fancy midfield tricks and modules. But I think that is what Mikel Arteta wants from him. He wants a player who can receive the ball, keep the ball, plan with the ball, and then create something out of out of possession. That is Ruben Neves. Simple, a cut and copy of Xhaka without those many mistakes. Because if you look at what does Ruben Neves do, really picks up the ball, passes it around, distributes it very well. He's going to contribute to some shot creating actions or occasionally as well. He's not going to score for you 5 goals in a season. It's going to be around 3 3 and 2 spectaculars in a campaign. So I don't see Ruben Neves as maybe a Coutinho, as maybe a Nabil Fekir or a Tielemans. But I think he's the player that suits Mikel Arteta very well. So Ruben Neves up there, I would definitely go. If you ask me the 2 midfielders out of this shortlist, that I would go for Tielemans and Ruben Neves, honestly. Because I think Jude Bellingham, not doable. I would definitely, put my life to get Jude Bellingham for Arsenal, but it's not doable, honestly. So Ruben Neves, doable, and I think it's what Arsenal need. I would take Ruben Neves over Douglas Luiz, and I would also take, below him, right? Below him, you have the likes of Kamara that I would definitely take as a second midfielder. The likes of Bissouma that I would take as a second midfielder. But if we can get Ruben Neves and Tielemans, midfield sorted. Midfield done. Absolutely done. So the other position that I think Arsenal will have to look at is the right back position, and there is a big question there, lads, whether you think Arsenal should replace Tomiyasu or should bring in a backup to Tomiyasu. And as Arsenal fans, we're gonna have very, very different thoughts. We're gonna have we're gonna have very contradicting thoughts. But honestly, I think we need someone better than Tomiyasu. And I know in your mind you're like, what is he even talking about? Yeah. But I think we need someone better than Tomiyasu. Tariq Lamptey. If we have 185 mil and we spend, for example, 85 on a striker on a striker duo, on a striker partnership, and we spend around 70 or 80 on a midfield duo, then we should spend at least another 20 to get in a good right back. Look, right backs are not that expensive for me. They're not that expensive. Maybe the likes of Tariq Lamptey would not come that cheap, because Tariq Lamptey is he's another gem. He's another generational talent. I'll be ranking my my best generational talents in the Premier League on 99 Sport, and Tariq Lamptey is up there, right? If you look at Tariq Lamptey, maybe can he keep fit? Maybe that's a big question. Can he keep fit? I mean, he suffered a couple of injuries, but one that I think Arsenal should give a thought. If he's available for around 30 mil, we can't go for him. But look, I've not gone for Tariq Lamptey. I've gone for 2 options here. I've gone with Max Aarons, and the reason that's why I've gone for Max Aarons is that Norwich could get relegated. And when they get relegated, it would be honestly a shame if they get relegated and he goes down with them for another time. I think this is one where Arsenal can just put in like 10 mil on Max Aarons. He's not as expensive as he was, but for me, I feel defensive wise we are okay. Look, I don't feel his defensive ability is up there like Tomiyasu's, but in modern football, we need wing backs that can actually create chances. Tierney does it. Tomiyasu doesn't do it. So getting someone that can actually give us the kind of ability to go forward. After all, Tomiyasu is only 18 mil. That means if any club want him, they should pay us around 20 to 25 million. Make that profit if he wants to go. I would be okay with that. I would definitely be okay with that. But I would definitely go for Max Aarons. It's a bargain. It's a bargain. Bring him in. He's got that, attacking ability more than Tomiyasu, and I think it would be very, very interesting to see how things roll on that side. And then you have, oh no, that's not what I want. Jed Spence. Yeah, you have Jed Spence. Now, and he's a very, very interesting player. At Middlesbrough, he's having one of I think he's one of those that are having really, really a very, very interesting campaign. And I bet Arsenal will want to get him in. I know Arsenal will want to get him in. Offers for January didn't actually happen, so we didn't make offers in for January. Arsenal and Tottenham are much interested in the player, but if you look at him, I think it's more. His description is that of Tomiyasu. Young, can sit on the bench and wait for his chance. I think it's the same thing with Nuno Tavares, not Tomiyasu, but Nuno Tavares. Young, ready to sit on the bench, learn, and wait for their chance. So Jed Spence, honestly, if we can't go for Max Aarons, I would go for Jed Spence. And I won't be surprised if Arsenal brought in someone like Jed Spence and he proved to be stronger and better than Tomiyasu. Because for me, my problem with Tomiyasu is his defensive liability. Defensive liability. If he can work on that, then he would be very, very okay. But that is how I would spend the 185 mil from the American man, Stan Kroenke. Let's see what you people said in the chat. Kosi, seriously, I love hearing your thoughts. Most times, how I wish someone associated more with Arsenal and listened to most of this content. Thank you so much, Arno. I wanted Tillemans to Arsenal since he was at Monaco. Tillemans is a gem. Tillemans, is a gem. Tillemans is a gem. I'll take him at Arsenal all day long. Laban says Kroenke, Arteta, and Edu should leave our club because we are going back instead of stepping ahead. We failed to buy players after losing many in January. Slap said, what happened to our January signings? Laban says, Kosi, Arsenal needs 2 central midfielders and 2 strikers, and Saliba should join Arsenal as well. I think I will trust the report from Goal.com that said Arsenal will definitely integrate William Saliba in the squad. I will trust that report. And I agree with you, 2 strikers are a must. 2 midfielders are a must. No questions. Look, anything short of that, anything less than that, shambles. Anything less, because we can't give, we can't forgive, because we are Arsenal fans. We can't forgive the shambles in January, but I doubt we can forgive the shambles in the summer. You know why? In the summer, we are preparing for that season where we are back. That is the season where we announce ourselves as a club who are back. I don't expect to lose the opening game next season to Brentford. I don't expect to lose points to Burnley. No, I don't. We will be at that level. We lose to Liverpool after Liverpool struggle to beat us. We draw to Manchester City. We pick up points on difficult fields. But that comes after a sensible transfer window. Honestly, it does. Okay. Jonathan says it's Lewin for me. Look, I think out of the options that we are looking at, it's Calvert-Lewin. His numbers are also good now. Yeah, his numbers are also good. So it's Calvert-Lewin. Yeah, it's Calvert-Lewin. But there's I would really respect anyone who said any other names. Genesis, I also go for Calvert-Lewin. He's Italian, also knows the Premier League. I think the fact that we started bringing in Premier League proven players, it has helped us to some point. It has helped us. Ramsdale played in the Premier League for Bournemouth and Sheffield United. Is it Sheffield United? Yeah. And then you also have Ben White played in the Premier League for Brighton. You have that as well. So if we can bring in more of those, it will eventually work out. Good evening to you, Emma. I hope you're doing well, my man. And it says, we need a new CDM, experienced CAM, central defensive midfielder and central attacking midfielder, lethal strikers, and a backup for Tommy. Right? Interesting. Interesting one. Very, very interesting one. It says, we need a new CDM. An experienced CAM. Look, if you're going for an experienced CAM, does that mean you are throwing Odegaard out of out as a priority? Because I think Odegaard will look if we get in another good central midfielder. Odegaard will look to advance better. And in games where I've seen him play comfortable with with two comfortable players behind him, he's been all right. He's been all right. Can he create more? Mm-hmm. Can he score more? Mm-hmm. Can he be the kind of number 10 that Arsenal need? He is. But I wouldn't be 100% against the idea of getting in another central attacking midfielder. If Maddison came in, I would be okay with that. Because look, I want the competition. If Odegaard stands the competition and beats Maddison, can you imagine having Maddison and Odegaard in the same team? That would be phenomenal. And also players like Fabio Cavallo. I think what Liverpool are doing right is they're going for this kind of players that are just coming up, and it's working. I mean, they bring in players from the academy. They bring in players from other clubs that are not yet, that big of a talking point. And then by the time they start being a talking point, they're already settled in Liverpool. Diogo Jota is one of them. From the academy, you have Trent as well. You have the likes of Elliot now, Harvey Elliott as well. You have the likes of Robertson. By the time these players announce themselves, they announce themselves as Liverpool players. So I think Arsenal should do that strategy as well. Getting the serious ones, like Liverpool did with Mane, Salah, and Luis Diaz, but also getting those ones that will become a problem. I wish Conor Gallagher was not a Chelsea player. I think Arsenal. Look, I'll do a list of youngsters, because for me, I will keep creating Arsenal content. I'll do a list of youngsters Arsenal should go for ambitiously, and Conor Gallagher is up there. Yeah, Conor Gallagher is up there. If Arsenal get Conor Gallagher, he's got the ability to play as a number 10, which is doing very well for Crystal Palace. But what I love about him is he's got that kind of ability to run the whole field. You could just give him a free role. Like you could pin Odegaard in that 10 role, and instead of Odegaard playing in a free role, you just give it to Conor Gallagher, and you would see absolute sensations, absolute scenes, absolute quality. Gallagher is a bowler. But listen, lads, I think Fabio Cavallo, if Arsenal could hijack that deal, they should. I've talked about the likes of Karim Adeyemi as well, and I've said if Arsenal can get Karim Adeyemi, why not? I mean, go get him. He's good, isn't he? So that is marks the end of our video. How can Arsenal and how should Arsenal spend their 185 million? Smash a like on the video. Kosi will speak to you tomorrow, same time. See you soon.